My name is Richard, and I've known Brett since, say, about 2008, so I knew him several years before I met Jane, and I think that's kind of an important part of what I would say about Jane is that I knew Brett, and then, when Brett's father passed away, and she and Brad came to stay with Brett, I just started to notice a forward picture of their family, and just some of the impact that had even on Brett, and some of the joy that he found with his family. So it was just a really precious time. I know for Brett to have Jane, his mom, and Brad, his brother, stay with him and spend those years, and he's continued to stay with Brad, and just the importance of family. So I noticed two things. I was trying to kind of boil down as I was thinking about Jane. Two things that I noticed. The first is what has been already mentioned, was her great devotion to her family. And I would add to that, maybe another way to put that is that she had a fierce loyalty to her family. And a few of these stories will really draw this out. But I had the privilege of being able to visit Brett every so often at his place, and his family would be there, also on special occasions, on birthdays and holidays such as Thanksgiving. And she was so proud of both you, Brett, and also you, Brad. Just the way that her face was when she started talking about all of the activities that y'all were involved in. I remember specifically being at your place, and on numerous occasions, Brett, you were talking about your travails in substitute teaching, and the highs and the lows of that. And every so often, you would have some situation that came up, some issue that you were dealing at with the school, or a situation with a student, or something. And I remember this fierce loyalty to you. It was almost as if she was going to say, "Give me the name of this person you're dealing with, and I'll go take care of business." Go up there, and Brett's like, "No, you don't really need to do that." So I just remember fondly how interested she was in what you did at school, and the teaching and the good work that you did, but also how 100% supportive she was of your endeavors, and how she believed in you. And I'm sure at many times, Brett, and I've seen it for sure, how many times she encouraged you when you didn't feel like you could go on in what you were doing. And so I think that is such an important part of what I saw in Jane. Likewise, Brad, when she would talk about you, and throughout the years, and just describe how helpful you were to her. I remember, Brad, you would help go get unload things, bringing them up the stairs, and how appreciative she was of you, and how much she wanted to include you, in the plants. Or the plants were mentioned that were stored on the balcony. How proud she was of those, and how she drew people in. And this devotion to her family wasn't really just limited to Brett and to Brad, but she drew you in to where you felt like you were also part of their family as well. And indeed we were. And so that's one aspect, this great and fierce devotion to her family. The other aspect that I noticed very clearly, these were not hard to identify when I was thinking about Jane. The second thing is her hospitality to people. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this room who has experienced this hospitality. I remember several Thanksgivings where I got an invitation. Hey, you can come from Brett and say, hey, come over to my place a few days before Thanksgiving. My mom's going to be preparing a meal. And I just remember, coming over there, and I remember the lively conversations that would happen, where Jane was right in the middle of that. And I also recall the laughter that often filled the house. And that was really special. She always enjoyed not only her sons, but their friends. And she was very hospitable, serving us food, always asking, hey, do you need something to drink? And I remember sometimes I would only be at Brett's place to look at his car out in the parking lot. And, I just planned, okay, I'll go look at that real quick, then I've got to run. And Brett would always say, hey, come upstairs. Why don't you go upstairs and say hi to Mom? I was glad to do so, except my hands were covered in smudges and grease, and I probably wiped it all over my face, but Brett didn't care. He's like, no, come on over. And every time, whether it was just for 10 or 15 minutes, she would be as happy to see me, and she just made me feel right there at home. There was always such a warmth, a love that you could tangibly feel coming up to visit, and she also hated it when you had to leave. She would accept it. She knew that you had to leave, but she was always. I think that just demonstrated how much she wanted to see you, and so I know that probably many people felt that also in this room. Also, they had many times as a family shared times of going through the Bible with Brett and preaching and singing and just prayer and I know she really enjoyed that. And so I think that we're remembering Jane, we're considering her life, but also we come up and we think about death. We also must consider, what is death pointing us to? Death tells us that there's something that's not right, and there's a separation. We feel separated from a loved one. We miss Jane. We thank God for her, that we knew her, but it's that pain of separation, and death is the consequence of our sins. But God, in His great love and in His great mercy, has given us Jesus Christ and the death of His Son to rescue us from sin and to restore our relationship with Him. So I want to read a few verses real quick from one of the last chapters in the Bible, from Revelation chapter 21, to help us to look forward to being in eternity with God. In Revelation chapter 21, it says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man.
He will dwell there. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people. And God himself will be with them as their God. And he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. And he who is seated on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. And he said, Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give from the spring of the water of life without payment. The one who conquers will have this heritage, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. And so as we take this time to remember Jane's life and just how much she's touched us, let's also look ahead to the God who loved us and gave his son for us. And Brett, I thank you for allowing me this opportunity, and we will all miss Jane greatly. But I also thank God just for the opportunity to have gotten to know her. And so, thank you.